You know that feeling, right? When you're so completely absorbed in what you're doing that the entire world just melts away. Time disappears, your focus is laser sharp, and everything just clicks. It's that incredible feeling of being totally in the zone. But what if I told you that being in the zone is more than just a great feeling? What if it's a genuine performance superpower? A decade-long study found that people in this state can be up to 500% more productive. I mean, think about that. That's like getting an entire week's worth of work done on a Monday.
Well, that feeling has a name, the flow state. And in this explainer, we're going to break down the science behind this powerful state of mind, and more importantly, we're going to show you exactly how you can find it for yourself.
All right, so let's start with the basics. What exactly is the flow state? What's going on in our minds when we hit that perfect peak of performance? The guy who coined the term was psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He got completely fascinated by artists who would get so lost in their work that they would literally forget to eat, drink, or sleep. But he quickly realized this wasn't just for artists. It's a universal experience. It's a state of peak performance that's accessible to every single one of us.
So to really get what flow is, you kind of have to break it down into its ingredients. It's not just one thing. It's a combination of these 8 elements all working together. Think about it. You know exactly what you're supposed to do. You're getting feedback right away. The task is challenging, but not so hard that it's overwhelming. And maybe the most powerful piece of the puzzle, that nagging inner critic, that voice of doubt and fear, it just goes completely silent.
Okay, so we know what flow feels like, but what's actually happening inside our brains to make that feeling possible? This is where the neuroscience gets really cool.
For decades, scientists were kind of battling it out over 2 competing theories. The hyperfocus hypothesis suggested that your brain's command centers were working overtime to keep you focused, but the expertise hypothesis proposed the complete opposite, that your conscious brain actually quiets down, letting your well-practiced skills run on autopilot. And this image pretty much settles the debate. A recent study scanned the brains of jazz guitarists while they were improvising, a classic flow-inducing activity. And it turned out, for the experts, the parts of the brain responsible for conscious control and self-criticism actually got quieter. It's like the conscious mind got out of the way and let the master musician take over.
So not only does your inner critic get silenced, a process with the fancy name transient hypofrontality, but your brain is also flooded with this amazing cocktail of performance-enhancing chemicals. You get a hit of dopamine, which makes the whole thing feel great and motivates you. Plus, your brain actually gets better at learning, rewiring itself faster while you're in the zone.
Now, all this science is fascinating, but here's the most important takeaway for you. Flow isn't just some random lightning strike. It's a state we can actually engineer. And the key to doing that is all about finding a really delicate balance. Csikszentmihalyi created a simple model for this, called the flow channel. It all comes down to 2 things: how challenging you think the task is, and how skilled you think you are at it. Flow happens right there in that perfect sweet spot where those 2 things meet. If a task is way too difficult for your current abilities, you're not going to find flow. Nope. You're going to find anxiety. Your brain gets totally overwhelmed, you feel stressed, and focus becomes pretty much impossible. And what about the flip side? What if the task is a total cakewalk for you? Well, then your brain just isn't engaged enough. You get bored, your mind wanders, you start checking your phone, you're miles away from flow. You have to be stretched just enough to stay engaged.
So this brings us to the really good stuff, the practical toolkit. Because knowing the theory is one thing, but how do we actually stay in that flow channel in our day-to-day lives?
Okay, so what do you do when the challenge just feels way too high and you're stuck deep in that anxiety zone? The goal isn't to suddenly get amazing new skills overnight. It's to lower the perceived difficulty of the task. First, take that big, scary project and break it down into tiny, non-threatening steps. Then you gotta challenge those negative what-if thoughts. Instead of thinking about what could go wrong, flip the script and visualize what it looks like when it goes right. And finally, you can even reframe that racing heart not as anxiety, but as your body gearing up and giving you the energy you need to perform. But what about the other problem? What if you're on the other side of the channel, just totally bored and unmotivated because a task is too simple? Well, here the goal is to increase the perceived challenge.
You can start by reconnecting with your deeper purpose, your why. Why are you even doing this? Or you can just add a constraint. Give yourself a time limit, turn it into a game. Or simply get curious and ask yourself, okay, how can I do this in a new, more interesting way?
Now,
Those techniques are great for adjusting a task. But these habits, these are the absolute foundation. These are non-negotiable. You need a single, crystal clear goal. You have to be ruthless about getting rid of distractions, and yes, that means turning off your phone, and you need to work with your brain's natural energy cycles, not against them. This is the bedrock of focus.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. Because flow isn't just for you working alone in a quiet room. It has huge implications for how we work and play together.
There's this common myth that flow is just for superstars, right? It's just not true. It is a universal human experience. And as you can see from this research on elite athletes, it can even be trained. Things like mental imagery and mindfulness have been scientifically proven to help people get into flow states more often.
And get this, flow isn't just an individual sport. Entire teams can achieve a state of group flow, where everyone is so in sync. It feels like they're all operating as a single unit with a shared brain and a shared purpose.
And this has massive implications for the workplace. It's led to this whole idea of flow leadership, which is all about creating an environment where teams can find that state. It means setting clear goals, giving useful feedback, and finding that perfect sweet spot of challenge for the whole team, balancing people, purpose, and performance.
So, at the end of the day, flow isn't some magical, mystical state that just happens to you. As we've seen, it's a state you can actively build and cultivate. By understanding that delicate balance between challenge and skill, by carefully protecting your focus, you can make this incredible experience of peak performance a regular part of your life. The only question left is, where will you find it?